There are so many art marketing tips from supposed art selling experts here on YouTube that are supposed to help you sell art. Not just them, but pretty much everybody you come across in life has a suggestion on how to sell your art. But most of it is a waste of time. So as artists, what are we to do? I'm a full-time artist. I've been selling my work online and in person for the past 10 years, and I completely support myself financially off of selling my art. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned over the years and some of the mistakes that I've made from listening to people who just have horrible advice. So this way you won't waste your time and make the mistakes that I have. Because let me tell you, I've tried it all. I am highly motivated. I hustle. I want to sell my art, and you have to really want this as a career if you're trying to figure out how to make money as an artist, because it is a difficult road to walk down. I mean, anybody who's tried this knows. I mean, if you're watching this, you know just how hard it is to sell your work. It's hard to make good art, and then it's hard to find someone who will pay you for that work. So I'm willing to try just about anything to sell my art, and I have done just that. And if you're anything like me, you've also been trying to sell your work a lot and failing. Man, it is frustrating sometimes. One of the main tactics that these supposed experts say to do is to post your artwork as many times as humanly possible on every social media network that you can come across. And this is ridiculous. I mean, who has time for that? Some of these people say to post 3 to 5 times per day at a minimum. If you think about it, there are at least 10 social media networks that I can think of on the top of my head that would be worth posting on. And then if you're posting on those, let's say even only 3 times a day, that's 30 posts a day. How is any one artist who's trying to do this by yourself, how are we supposed to actually do that? I mean, it's ridiculous. And then also have time to make art? Seriously? No, that's just not going to work. I mean, that is a recipe for burnout if I've ever heard one. So please don't do this. But I actually tried doing this. I know, because I am a glutton for punishment. And let me tell you this story. So I watched several YouTubers who were supposed TikTok experts, right? And they suggested that you need to make 1 to 3 TikToks per day to grow on TikTok and get your account seen by people. And I've seen lots of artists that have really blown up on TikTok and made huge amounts of sales. So I'm like, hey, why don't I do this? I have all this video of me painting really colorful animals. It's things people would be interested in. And so I tried just that. But one of the tips was that you shouldn't use a social media scheduler app or anything like that to do this. You should make them all manually on your phone, so that way you are engaging with the TikTok through the actual TikTok app, so that way you will get the most exposure. And so that's what I did. I manually created through the TikTok app 2 TikToks every day for a month and uploaded them. And it resulted in me developing tendonitis in this area of my thumbs. It was awful. I went to the doctor and she's like, "What have you been doing? They're so messed up." I'm like, "Well, I've been making TikTok videos to try to sell my art." And she just looked at me like, "Okay, well, you better stop doing that." It's like, "But I need to make a living." Yeah, it's just dumb. And the real kicker is that I didn't sell a single thing that month. Not one sale. I even started a TikTok shop so that I could have my artwork for sale on the platform, because that's also what they say, is that TikTok might not promote you as much and let you get as much viewership if you're not using the in-app features. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll start a TikTok shop. So I created 100 listings of all of my prints that were the most popular, stuck them up on TikTok, and then started tagging my products through the TikToks, because that was also supposed to get me exposure. None of it worked. Not a single sale. Needless to say, do not waste your time making mass amounts of TikTok videos by hand on the phone and expect it to actually work for you. Because it might work for some people, certainly, but it did not work for me. Of course, the experts also say to use hashtags. Oh my gosh, there are so many hashtag strategies out there. Like, use only 3 hashtags, use 5 hashtags, use broad hashtags, use long tail keywords. If you've never heard what a long tail keyword is, that is basically describing the item in detail. So for example, a broad hashtag would be hashtag painting, but a long tail keyword along those same lines would be hashtag rainbow cat painting. Of course, I had to throw the cat painting in there because I'm a cat lady and I love cats. Check out my shirt, live, laugh, purr. All right, back to the information you came for. So hashtags, they don't really work. All of the strategies, all the time and effort, it's really not going to get you major amounts of exposure. It might help just a teeny tiny bit, but it's not worth spending a lot of time on. If you're making posts, I just throw a couple hashtags in there, like 3 or 4, just so that there's something there, but don't waste extensive amounts of time trying to figure out which one is going to get you the right amount of exposure and all of that, because none of them are probably going to help you very much at all. And this transitions us into exposure. I can't think of how many times coffee shops, local businesses, even elementary schools, things like that, have contacted me and they're like, hey, will you put on an art show in our space? You can have an entire month. We'll feature you as our artist. These opportunities are a complete waste of time. If a small exhibition or something like that contacts you, just pass on it, because it takes several hours of your time, at least, sometimes more, to set up and take down the art show, and then there's a reception and all of this. And most of the time you won't sell very much art, if anything at all. And your work might get damaged in the location that it's hanging. I can think of one time I hung my artwork up in an exhibition at a library, and they had a trash can placed right next to one of my paintings. And you could see what happened. Somebody had thrown a drink into the trash can and it splattered all over my painting and it left marks on there. I had to go in and repaint over the painting because it was some nasty brown liquid, probably a soda. It was just disgusting. And what did the event venue, the library, say? Well, we can't help it. We don't know what happened. Sorry. That's all they could say. And this was an $800 painting that someone purchased from me online while I had it at the exhibition. And so I had to go in and fix it really quickly before I could ship it out to the person. So yeah, needless to say, a lot of stress. And I didn't make any money off of that exhibition, only the stuff that I sold online that had nothing to do with the exhibition. And this was one of those art shows where they were like, oh, this is going to get you so much exposure, or so many people come to the library. Yeah, but what type of individual goes to the library? I mean, a lot of people who don't have that much money to be able to purchase books. There are lots of kids after school programs, college students doing research for papers. And are they really going to purchase your work? Probably not, right? Lesson learned, don't do anything for simply exposure unless you're going to get a lot of exposure off of it. For example, if you're on the news, or if you are having an interview on a podcast with a large listenership or viewership, then that might be worth doing. But if it's a small event where less than 1,000 people are going to show up, you probably shouldn't do it for exposure. So this begs the question, does the exposure that we get from social media really help us to sell art? And I think it really depends on the strategy that you are using on social media when you're making posts on there. If you are just aimlessly posting things, then probably not. But I've developed a low effort, high yield strategy for social media posting that actually will help you sell your art. So please check it out. Watch this video tutorial here. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.